Hi, I want to talk about the war on influences that followed the war on attention. So I will call that influencing the influencer. If you think about it, if you're very honest with yourself, you've been exposed to some influences the whole life you've been living so far. From your parents, who I guess for you, I hope so, are friendly, were friendly, and to your neighbors, maybe some friends that you respect and esteem. To right now, with the rise of social media, to the influencers themselves. So the influencers, it's a weird concept, right? Just to be an influencer, like what's your job? I want to influence. I want to. So basically, they are selling ideas, and that's the very interesting fact because you never met them, never ever. They don't know you. They talk to you like they know you, and sometimes you feel they reach you, they really know you. And in that way, there is a one influences. This is obvious. And what about influencing the influencer? That's the second layer we need to think about. The layer of who influenced the one trying to influence you, and so on. Then at some point you go to a third layer or fourth layer. The research is quite hard to do, but once you try to understand who influenced the influencer, you can get slightly who is trying to influence you, why the motives, the agenda. So then basically popularity is above some kind of truth. This is not an exact science. This is a human science. This is full of emotions, the good communication. So many times people use silliness, for example, with a lot of charisma to make you believe in something in an easier way rather than to be so dead serious about something which may make you feel like you're in a boring debating club, something like that. And in these layers of influences you've been exposed to, most of the time we, and I say we, I don't say you because myself is often the case, we, including you of course, not only me, we are repeating like parrots what the last or the one before the last one influencer started saying to us and said to us at the one time in a very well communicated video, popular one, some kind of video we listened recently, or just a very good one, or just repetitively, like with so much repetition that we start to know completely the kind of thinking this influencer who doesn't want to tell himself that he's an influencer sometimes. I mean, the ones who are just explicit about the fact they're influencers, they're kind of very, very brave to just accept the fact, yes, I'm here to influence you, so what? That's basically what many priests, politicians, many mullahs, many people do actually. They crave for influencing you, and they say it, but saying like, well, I'm using the love for universe, God, or whatever, the spiritual so-called people, the so-called spiritual people, and so on. They're also trying to influence you, but they can't tell you, okay, my job is to influence you. Otherwise, they may feel like the the whole house of cards is gonna fall. So it's a very tricky thing, and some would just say officially, yes, I'm an influencer. There's something that honest about it. But these people, most of the time, they're changing now the chain of influences. Traditionally, the chain of influences came from the parents who were repeating their own parents, the whole life they got in a specific town or even in a village. They were more or less dealing with people from the same neighborhood, and the neighborhood, even if sometimes some disparities are, he's still thinking the same thing, more or less, geographically speaking, because there's a culture here, and it was not interconnected with other sides of the world directly at all, you know. So you were kind of in a cocoon of thoughts, of like a thinking pattern, and like a specific culture. Like, it's, if you're like in a cocoon in the middle of India, you may be Hindu for sure, like, or Muslim in some areas. And if it's in like in Pakistan, or like Tajikistan, or it would be Muslim. If it's in the middle of the USA, you may be a Mormon, Christian, whatever. If it's like in France, would have been Catholic. And if it's like in some places in Africa, either it's the north or center, the south, it would have been Muslim or Christian, like evangelist, Catholic, depended on the spheres of influences, because missionaries came with the goal of influencing the others. And also, one more point to add, to be influenced, we need to be influenceable. Like, we need to be exposed to these influences and receptive to these influences. Most of the time we just say no, no, no. My culture is the best. My thinking is the best. My pattern are the best. So don't interfere. You're welcome as a tourist, but don't tell me what to think, you know. And if it starts to be influenceable, like in many places where they welcome the missionaries, the Christian missionaries, then at some point they start slowly adopting some of the culture. And now we have the paradox to have some countries in Africa that are more Christian than some European countries, for example. If it's the case, it was geographically. Then maybe people came from the outside, but still geographically, okay. And it was all an offline world. The real life was an offline world, an offline life. Right now, the life is both offline and online. And sometimes even heavier online than offline about what's going on. You feel you talk to so many people online. Well, you haven't exactly, but at least you listen to more people online than offline right now. Could never happen in the past. You got to go out to interact with people and potentially be influenced by them. So if you don't go out much, who you are exposed to? Your parents, right? Now you're going out a lot without going out, with just checking your phone all the time, and then you're like, oh, this guy seems interesting. Oh, this girl is hot and she's saying some interesting things. Oh, this guy has a charisma, he speaks well, and I can see he's liked by so many people. If he's liked by so many people, he must be smart, or he must have something very relevant to say, while it doesn't have to be connected, you know. Like, for example, during the Greek paganism, most of the people talking about the different gods, they were really popular, you know, for example, followed by most of the Greek peers, and later the Romans and so on. So it influenced up to Egypt, like the Roman Empire and everything. And at some point, nobody believed in this. Like, who believes right now in Zeus, you know, Hera and everything? So now we need to really distinguish between these offline influences and these online influences. That's why the one influences is tougher than ever before. Okay, that was the message, and take care, and thanks for having followed. For the small bonus, like to talking about silliness, I did a Gandhi rainbow painting. Yes, a paradox, I know, of course. Gandhi in one hand, John Rambo on the other hand. So that's him, Gandhi Rambo. Okay, cheers. Okay.